بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أخي صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير محمد بن سلمان ولي عهد المملكة العربية السعودية. فخامة رئيس بايدن.
My brother, His Royal Highness Prince Mohammad bin Salman bin Abdulaziz, Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mr. President Joe Biden, Your Majesties, Excellencies, Highnesses, I extend my greetings and appreciation to the countries participating in today's summit, which comes at an exceptional moment in the history of the world and the Arab region, to bear a clear political significance of renewing our determination to enhance the partnership between the Arab states and the United States of America, whether at the bilateral level or in the broader regional framework, in a way that enables us to extend this partnership to further horizons of cooperation, which meets the aspirations and interests of our peoples based on strong and well-established relationships and principles from which we should not deviate in order to achieve mutual benefit and maintain the security and stability of the entire region. The worsening global and regional crises spanning from the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, food security, and the spread of armed conflicts globally and regionally have carried on and intensified, casting a shadow on humanity, including our Arab region, which is suffering from serious political, development, and security challenges, including the risks of the spread of terrorism. In the same vein, these challenges threaten the stability of our peoples and the rights of future generations, leaving our nation legitimately questioning the effectiveness of the tools we have and the measures we are taking to address these challenges, and wondering about the fate of the protracted crises that our Arab region has been witnessing for more than a decade and the prospects of their settlement. Against this backdrop, it is necessary for our countries and region to have tangible contributions in formulating permanent, non-interim solutions to those contemporary challenges founded on a scientific and realistic approach. This is our goal in Egypt, based on our belief that we all belong to one identity, which is humanity. It is no longer acceptable to be among the Arab nation, defined by a glorious history, rich cultural and civilizational contribution, and enormous resources and capabilities, who is yet a refugee or displaced person, or affected by the scourge of wars and disasters, or who lost hope for a better tomorrow. Thus, it is time for our joint endeavors to bring to a closure all endless conflicts and chronic civil wars that have strained the peoples of the region, squandering their resources and wealth, and allowed some powers to interfere in the domestic affairs of Arab states, conduct illegitimate military assaults on their lands, and tamper with the fate of their future generations by invoking conflicts of the pre-modern state eras of sectarian, ethnic, and tribal nature, in which exists neither victor nor vanquished. This led to the collapse of the foundation of the modern nation-state and paved the way for the emergence of the phenomenon of terrorism and the dissemination of its dark and extremist ideology. Your Majesties, Excellencies, Highnesses, Egypt has several historical experiences in the region, during which it has always been a pioneer in opening up to different peoples and cultures and pursued the path of peace, which was Egypt's strategic choice that it took, imposed, preserved, and carried the torch to spread it, believing in the power of logic, not the logic of power, and that the world accommodates everyone. It is the peace of the powerful, established on the principles of justice, balance, respect, and acceptance of others and their rights. In this regard, I am taking this unique opportunity to share with you our comprehensive five-pillar approach that aims to address priority issues and serve our mutual goals of building a more stable and prosperous region. First, there is no doubt that moving forward towards the future depends on how we settle the protracted crises of the past. Therefore, our joint endeavors to resolve the current crises of the region, whether those that arose during the past decade or those that continue from before that, won't succeed if we fail to achieve a fair, comprehensive, and final settlement to the central cause of the Arab world, the Palestinian cause. This settlement must be consistent with relevant international resolutions on the basis of the two-state solution to ensure the establishment of the independent Palestinian state on the borders of June 4, 1967, with East Jerusalem as its capital, and preserves the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people in order to live in security and peace alongside the State of Israel in a way that guarantees the security of the two peoples and provides a new reality for the peoples of the region that can be accepted while blocking the path of exclusionary policies and reinforcing the value of peaceful coexistence and embodying hope. Hence, we should double down our efforts not only to revive the peace process, but to bring it to a final and irreversible solution, providing the impetus upon which peace efforts in the region should be based. Second, building societies from within on the foundations of democracy, citizenship, equality, respect for human rights, rejecting sectarianism and extremist ideologies, and upholding the concept of national interest is the guarantee for sustainable stability in its comprehensive meaning in a way that preserves people's resources and wealth and ensures that it will not be hijacked or misused. In this vein, it is necessary to strengthen the role of the nation-state with its inclusive identity as well as its legitimate institutions and building its capabilities and cadres in order to enable them to carry out their duties in establishing good governance, maintaining security, enforcing laws, facing outlaw elements, as well as providing the appropriate environment in support of fundamental rights and freedoms, empowering women and youth, and consolidating the role of civil society as a partner in the development process, in addition to religious institutions and leaders who spread the culture of moderation and tolerance in a manner that guarantees the right to freedom of religion and belief. This while implementing political, economic, and social reforms and advancing investments, job creation, and sustainable development in a way which meets the aspirations of our peoples towards a better future in which they participate in building and possess the right to reap the benefits of their achievements without discrimination. Third, this pillar tackles Arab national security, which I affirm that it is indivisible. We deem that the collective capabilities that the Arab states possess in cooperation with their partners are sufficient to respond to any potential threats in the Arab world. It is important to underline that the guiding principles of the intra-Arab relations are those of respect for the sovereignty of states, non-interference in domestic affairs, fraternity and equality, same as the principles and the essence of the UN Charter. These should also be the same foundations for the relations between Arab countries and their regional neighbors and international partners. Moreover, as we address the concept of integrated regional security, it is paramount to reaffirm the importance of taking practical steps to accomplish tangible results towards the establishment of a Middle East zone free of nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction, while advocating the role of the IAEA in this regard and maintaining the non-proliferation mechanisms as a cornerstone for an integrated framework for regional security. Fourth, terrorism remains a major challenge from which the Arab countries have suffered for decades, and thus we reiterate our commitment to combating terrorism and extremist ideologies in all its forms and manifestations, with the aim of defeating all terrorist organizations and armed militias scattered around parts of the Arab world. Those groups benefit from the support of some external forces to serve their destructive agenda by taking up arms to acquire illegitimate political gains, obstructing political settlements and national reconciliations in some areas, standing as hurdles to people's will, and have even developed their capabilities to carry out cross-border operations. Let me be very clear on this matter. I stress that there is no place for the notion of militias, mercenaries, and armed groups in the region. I urge their supporters who provide them with shelter, finances, weapons, training, and allow the transfer of terrorist elements from one area to another to review their erroneous assessments and miscalculations and realize unequivocally that our national security and its associated red lines are not subject to any compromises, and that we will protect and defend our security interests and rights by all means. Fifth, this pillar relates to the necessity of strengthening cooperation and international solidarity to enhance the ability of countries in the region to address the major and emerging international crises such as food shortages, the disturbances in energy markets, water security, and climate change, with the aim of containing these crises and overcoming their impacts, as well as enhancing investments directed to developing the necessary infrastructure for industrialization, the transfer of knowledge and technology, as well as the availability of goods. In this context, Egypt supports all efforts aiming at enhancing cooperation and diversifying partnerships to address the current food and energy crises, while reaffirming that addressing the current food security crisis requires taking into consideration its different dimensions on both short and long terms in order to put in place effective mechanisms to quickly respond to the needs of countries most impacted. This through making available urgent support packages, as well as enhancing the mechanisms of sustainable agricultural protection, grain storage, and decreasing food waste in cooperation with international partners and financial institutions. The same approach applies to dealing with the energy crisis that requires effective cooperation on our part to guarantee the stability of the international energy market. The success achieved by the Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum throughout the past years is an exemplary model demonstrating our political will to cooperate with our partners and a testament to the sustainable management and optimum utilization of the current and future resources in order to preserve the energy sources. With regards to water security, it is important to reiterate commitment to the principles of international law relating to international rivers in a way that allows for the utilization of these natural resources in an equitable manner by all peoples and guarantees water security for all countries in the region, as well as preventing upstream countries from infringing on the rights of downstream countries. On climate change, it is of the utmost importance that we continue our collective work within the international multilateral frameworks on climate change, most importantly, the United Nations FCCC and the Paris Agreement, to guarantee achieving the agreed goals in accordance with the rules and principles that we have all accepted. In this context, I would like to reiterate that both the Arab and African regions are amongst the most affected by the negative impacts of climate change and its consequences on food, energy, and water security, as well as its impacts on social and political stability. Hence, it is important that we agree on an inclusive and comprehensive vision to support Arab and African countries in fulfilling their international climate commitments and to enhance their ability to adapt to the negative impacts of climate change, so that this vision contributes to addressing the financial liquidity crisis and intensifies climate financing directed to these countries, as well as enhancing investments in renewable energy. To this effect, I look forward to receiving you in Sharm el-Sheikh at the COP27 World Summit in November 2022, so that we can once again reaffirm our unwavering commitment towards addressing climate change and to transform this challenge into a real opportunity for development and for the transition to more sustainable green patterns of development for the benefit of all humankind. Your Majesties, Excellencies, Highnesses, I took the opportunity today to share with you the 5 pillars underlying Egypt's vision to address the current challenges in order to set our region on the path of comprehensive and sustainable stability and commence together a new chapter of strategic partnership between our nations and peoples on the basis of mutual trust and support, advancing common interests, burden and responsibility sharing, and solidarity. This while also taking into account the specificity of each society, its experiences, customs, traditions, and challenges, all in line with the concept of integration of civilizations in our contemporary time. To conclude, I extend my thanks to the brotherly Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the warm reception and generous hospitality. Also, I would like to address the following message to the peoples of our region and the American people. Rest assured that you will find in Egypt where the first human civilization flourished on the banks of its eternal Nile River, a supporter and partner, and a helping hand to preserve and optimize our mutual interests. We will embark together steadily on the path of the future towards development and progress, illuminating it by our unrelenting hope and determination, as well as our self-reliance and our shared vision of how to address crises in a manner that respects the will, choices, and right to self-determination of our peoples. We are fully confident in our approach and what our partnership provides in terms of capabilities and our experiences, which will enable us together to overcome any difficulties, no matter how tough they are, to draw a better tomorrow for all of us, for the future generations. Thank you very much.